What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of DevTalks, where we talk about everything technological and engineering. And we're here for another week, another awesome week, another podcast. We're here with your host, Travian. And hopefully, this one's good too. I pray that everything goes good. We're coming towards the end of the year. So that means I believe we only have this might be the last podcast of the year, or it could be the second to last podcast. Um, Regardless, though, I believe yet there's one more podcast that's going to be after this, and then hopefully in the new year, I have some ideas. I'm going to be working out some stuff, and maybe in the last podcast of the year, it might be a surprise, but we'll see. Depends on how much I'm able to get done. But this episode, I'm going to kind of take that I did a few weeks ago when I went over all the engineering stuff and the 10 steps or 10 tips. This week we have some more tips about productivity and programming, and then we also have some information about Meta smart glasses and AI, and then also Adobe and Figma. So tune into all of that, and we'll get dive right into it all. And let's just get this started. All right, so now we're back, and had to record this all over again because it just deleted itself for whatever reason, and we're gonna do this again. So got a lot to go over to this week, and there's a whole bunch of information that comes out. As I said, this is probably the second to last or last episode of the year, and we made a lot of progress this year. Hoping for more, a lot more next year. A lot more changes are coming, so hopefully things will be a lot better, a lot smoother, and going on from there. So there's first this article. It doesn't say the art, the not the artist, the author of the article. I just know it's on Engineers Kodak's blog site, and it's titled Four Simple Programming Habits That Transform My Productivity. So before diving into this, I'm going to link all these articles into the description if you guys want to read them on your own, get more context of certain situations and things. I get to see all this stuff, so I just like talking about them. The news that come out. So we're going to just look at them and speak on what we believe in and what we think of it. So the first tip that they have on here, and all four of these tips, I want to try to integrate in the next year and see how they'll be able to evolve me personally with my productivity. Looking through them already, I feel like I do some of them to an extent, but I could always be doing stuff better. And I'm probably going to try to make a video about this that's way more personal and go from there. But we're really going to dive into this. The first tip is to leave work slightly unfinished for easier flow the next day. This one is probably the one I'm probably more controversial about because if I can get something done the night before, I just want to knock it out. It's one less thing to worry about. When I'm in stand up the next day, it's just easier to, like, yeah, this is done. And was able to get this done. Now I can focus on less work the next day. But I can definitely see where the author is talking about using this for, because there's certain times like if you can be feel more drained and stuff for not accomplishing something in the morning. But once when you accomplish that one task, then it's a lot easier to go about your day, get more stuff done. You're already rolling and things like that. So I can definitely see how that workflow states. So they basically want to say they author basically says to find a sticking point and stop there before you progress any further, and then write down the steps to complete it so that you don't forget anything the next day, the next morning, and you can just go straight into doing the work, getting the work done, and you'll be able to keep it moving and stuff from there. And doing this, I can see how it can increase your productivity to that level. So maybe I should try to switch up my workflow a little bit, see how this helps. And by January, I'll probably give you guys a month update. But as I said, all these things I'm gonna try, and we're gonna dive into number two in just 1 second. But this is very a curious outlook. I can definitely see it working if you're one of those people who needs to start something, who needs to just knock something out, and once when you knock it out, then you move on a lot smoother and stuff. So it's a lot easier to get things done. The next thing, number two, is, and I wouldn't take any of these in any particular order. Take them all in whatever order, whatever importance. They're just four steps. I wouldn't put them in any certain order of best to worst step. I definitely could probably at the end, once when we get through all four of them, but get better at keyboard and mouse shortcuts. This is something that is very, very, very important. I know, especially in like VS Code, if you're messing with a lot of files and things, it's a lot easier to just, if you know the shortcuts and you know the mouse shortcuts, it's a lot easier to get through your work. It's a lot easier to groom through certain work, certain code, all this different kind of stuff. It's a lot better to do, and you can go from there. So that is definitely something that's definitely a possibility that can be done, and I can see that helping somebody on their day to days. One thing, I do look up shortcuts every now and then when I get stuck on something. I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it. I think next year, what I'm going to try to do is, I'm every week I'm probably gonna look up to three of them. Like for instance, if you look up one new shortcut a week and you use it that week and you try using it in work, you're getting a lot more repetition and practice around it. So now if you get three, and if you do one at least, you're by the end of the year you learn 52 different shortcuts like that you're able to use on a regular, um and do that. But if I do three, then I'm doing three times that amount, and stuff can look up to be even better. It'll be you probably, I can see it becoming more, you becoming more productive because you're doing less work to get to a certain point, which means you can get more work done by the end of the day, and stuff can go a lot faster. So that's definitely a plus right there. And then the next one, like everybody knows the copy and paste shortcuts. Like how much time does that save you guys on your own? It saves a lot of time. So the next tip, kind of flying through these just a little bit. I already talked about these briefly, but as I said, the audio messed up, so we're gonna have to go through this again. And that's very unfortunate. To keep a list of searchable commands and links handy. I think this is the most important one. And I'm going to I'm definitely going to rate these. I didn't do this in the first recording, but this one I'm definitely going to rank these and how, in the importance of productivity wise, how I feel out how they rank. So let's start with keeping a list of searchable commands. If you I have a text doc where I use commands that I'll probably commonly use during work, or that I may not use in a month, but it's something that's going to come back, something that may not be documented correctly or as commonly and stuff, so it's harder to find. You find them in different areas and things, but in the exact format that I will be using them, I have a list in the text doc of templates of these commands that I can just go copy, paste, and then fix them to the way I need to fix them to be able to get the work done. And it's a lot easier to do that than trying to ask somebody, you're trying to find this command and what it does. But I write what the command does, how to use it, and then put them there. And I have a whole doc list of docs. I'm not a doc, a whole file that holds all of these commands and information on it, and it constantly grows. You're going to pick up stuff as time goes on, but that is very important to have. Mind you, very important. The next thing is this is another one that's like 2 in 1, is to keep links handy. Gosh, it's a nightmare when you try to find something. Having a link, your links organized, one is going to help, but even having a list of them, especially if stuff that you commonly use on your day to day, is even more handier. I personally have bookmark folders, so I'll click on a folder and then the folder would contain bookmarks, and I even do this in my personal life now as well too. because it brings a lot more organization. It's easy to figure out where stuff's at, and it goes right to what I'm looking for. And I never used to do this until I got my job and stuff, and saw somebody else kind of doing that when they shared their screen. So I decided to steal it and copy it. So thank you to my coworker. Horace, if you listen to this, I copied it from you, saw it on yours first. So yeah, so I kind of took that kind of idea and approach, and I started using them like that. I started using bookmarks a lot more to be able to hold whatever links that I'm using, and it's easier to navigate. You don't spend all that time searching up stuff, especially if it's something you use so frequently. Then you have to be able to pick it up and get it a lot more easier and stuff. So you need to be able to do that for sure. For sure, you have to be able to get around and navigate all your different tools. I have a bookmark for repositories and it has all the repositories in there. I have a bookmark folder for documentation and it has all the documentation that I commonly use in there. And then another one for certain other stuff. Like it just it's just stuff like that can make a big improvement on your productivity, and some people may not realize it, but this tip number 3 is definitely one of the ones to go. Say no more. This I feel like I'm not really in a position most of the time as a programmer to say no at certain instances, especially depending on where it comes from. It depends on like where you're working, how it's structured and stuff. But sometimes I run into situations where I get pinged about something and I just say, yeah, let me just knock it out because it's pretty simple. Even though it does take away from my workflow and what I'm working on right now, it's still easy to get done. And you want to be please somebody and you just always so eager to do it that you just do it. And it's hard to say no, but it's a lot of like major projects and stuff like that that comes, I feel like should come from like the higher ups, either your manager, project manager, product one, whatever one you have on your team. They should be the people that say no, yes or no, that you should include in these situations so that you can have stuff and work prioritized a lot better from that. It's definitely something that is a skill to have. Is saying no, because you can mess up a lot of your workflow stuff. And even the author here gave some examples, and I agree with pretty much all of them. So some of the things the author said is to say no to novel technology when boring technology can get the job done. Yes, why would you make something you want me to spend more time making something that already works way more fancier when we don't need it right now? This thing works on its own, and that's going to just take up a bunch of engineering time from it. The next one is automating something that you only need to be done once manually. If this is something that is so rare, once a year, twice a year, something that's very not frequent, it's probably way more productive to just do it manually that one time than figure an automation system around it to not worry about it. Now, if something becomes way more frequent, then yeah, we need to find a way to automate this. But if it's not something that's frequent at all, especially if it's you're only going to do this one time ever at things and you kind of have the workflow on how to get it done, you should be good. It's not going to take much time out of your day. There's not really much reason to figure out and spend all them engineering time to figure out how to automate it. So that's a whole nother thing going on in its own. Say no to more tasks when I already knew I was overloaded. This is one of the things that I was saying. You just want to please people and get stuff done. Me, I'm really young in my career. Really haven't been in a career for too long, so I want to impress as much as possible and learn as much as possible. So I like taking on a lot of work. At times, I need to get better at figuring out where my overload level is at. Where do I feel most overloaded? Sometimes certain work surprises you, especially in engineering and programming. It Some work can surprise you more than others do, and you really can't get a grasp or understanding on how long it's going to take until you actually are doing it. So this is something I definitely need to get better on, is when I'm like booked up to just say it and be open about it so that I can figure out better ways of, hey, what's more prioritized so I can get that done first, and then we'll go back and see from there. Because sometimes certain work can take out of your workflow and what you're already working on. And the there's two more thing examples. One is to say no to scope creep suggestions. Scope creep is basically if you already have a scope of an idea of how to get something done, and these designers come back and want to keep layering on stuff on top of what needs to be done, that is going to increase the scope of the project, and it makes it a lot harder to shrink the work that's getting done and make it seem like you're getting work done because the scope is constantly increasing. So if you're saying no to this, then your scope can't increase as much, and you'll at least get done the main thing that you're thinking of, and then maybe at the end, then the designers can add the stuff on and things. But at least you have a lot more clear idea of the scope of what you're working for. This goes for if you're working on Jira tickets in any project or anything. You really don't want the scope to creep too much because then it's going to look like you're not really getting as much done, and it's definitely hard to do. And saying no is, and a lot of these tips are going to work in your private lives as well too, not just if you're an engineer, but um, it's a valuable skill. You can use this skill of saying no in anything, um, really, it just with your hobbies, your career, personal life, and you just have to figure out the right balance of stuff and how to use it and what you're using it for. So, but that is the four tips. So, if you want to see a video of after a month's update in January, end of January, so it'll be the first week of February. If you want to see that and me taking in these tips and how I think they affected me, and me doing them a lot better, then let me know in the comments. I'm definitely going to try it regardless. But, and also let me know if you already do some of these tips. And if you don't, which ones would you be taking on and how they affect you on your day to day. So leave it in the comments. I'm eager to know. I'm eager to talk to you guys about it. And then now it's time to move on to the next thing. So, a few weeks ago we talked about Meta's Ray-Ban glasses. So now they're out, $300 on the shelves now. Now they're adding AI to it. And I feel like this is personally kind of worrisome because one, it doesn't do anything besides see what you see. So everything you see, the AI now sees. And then I believe it's going to also, whatever you hear and whatever you say, it's going to be able to pick up on too. And I figure there's a reason why Meta's doing this, but it's basically you're walking around now with an extra phone that will just look at what you're looking at all the time. And like your Google Homes and Alexas, when everybody's like, oh, they listen to you all the time. I know everybody thinks that stuff and everybody says that they're always listening and things like that. Well, this is just going to help them more, I feel. And now you're giving it a better way to be able to see you. So that's also another thing, another standard that can happen. And wonder where that's going to go from here. But I'm really worried about the privacy aspect of this. Um, Meta, they're only incorporating it in their glasses, but they're not. The AI is not doing anything for you as a product, so it becomes kind of worrisome. It kind of makes you worry about your like whole privacy thing, especially this whole AI stuff when it comes to privacy and all that. It's going to be something that's very big, and if you're worried about this being messing up your private life in any way, then just admit it. Say, let me know in the comments, whatever you may be worried about for this, let me know. But I think privacy is a very big thing that this is going to be kind of troublesome for. And is there a way to like shut this off? Does it shut off automatically when the glasses are off and things? There's a lot of information that needs to figure out, but it's an experimental feature, so we'll see how long this may even last. They might not even keep it in there, or who knows. But I think it's kind of worrisome right now, especially since it's not giving you any benefit. If it only benefits Meta having the AI in there right now, it literally only benefits them. So I have to pay for a product to help be a guinea pig to help benefit them, or who knows. I don't know how I really much feel about that, but hey, that's the new news on their smart glasses with Ray Ban and stuff. So uh, let me know what you guys' thoughts are around that. And then we're coming up on the last topic. These last two topics aren't as long as the first one. The main episode was about the productivity stuff. But Adobe, what a lot of you guys know, if you don't know Adobe, they're the owners of like Photoshop, Premiere. I use Premiere a lot and things, of course, from that. But A lot of those apps to get certain work done and projects done, Adobe owns it, and Figma, a lot of people, it's a development app. I've used it in school, I believe, for like a mobile app, designing the UI and stuff. It is a development app for sure. I quite like the app itself. And if Adobe was able to get them as an acquisition, it would have been actually quite big for them. If you don't know, it was supposed to be a $20 billion acquisition for them. So that is a humongous acquisition. And now, since that, I believe Adobe stock prices were falling and a whole bunch of other stuff. So the shareholders in Adobe decided to terminate it, which cost them $1 billion. If you think about it, it sounds crazy, but I mean that's how that's, these tech companies, they're working with money, and it's a lot of money too. Like, it just because they messed up on their contract and they want to back out. I'm sure Figma already had their eyes set on being bought, and now they have to take steps backwards. So they're getting paid $1 billion to be potentially acquired, and it could have messed up some of their plans and things like that. Who knows? So it's a penalty that they're receiving, and Adobe has to pay for it. And it's going to cause a lot of chaos. I've seen a lot of different reports going on about this and things, but this was definitely Adobe's chance to upgrade more of their systems and have more control over the whole project based applications. But they're losing this. There are other apps out there that aren't Figma, so maybe they'll find another one. Who knows? It can be another situation like OpenAI. They'll probably try to take them back. Who knows what happens in the future? But let me know how you guys feel about that as well too. Have you ever used Figma before? If you used it, for what have you used it for? As I said, we were working on a mobile app, so we used it for our UI designs and things like that. And then for Adobe, what Adobe things do you use currently as well too? As I said, I use Premiere, especially for these videos to get them on YouTube. Premiere's the thing to go, and I think I'll be using Premiere too for next year for some of the plans I have. Still have to see, but I have a lot of testing to do. So we'll see how that testing goes and whatnot. But that is it for this week. As I said, if this is the last podcast of the year, happy holidays. If not, I'll see you right after, right between holidays, depending on what you celebrate. And we'll see how that all goes. But thank you guys for all your support this year. It means a lot to comment, and I really want to engage with everybody in the comments. That's one of the things I'm really striving for one day, being able to get more feedback and stuff. But most importantly, don't forget to share, get it out everywhere, and like it and all that fun stuff. Subscribe, and you'll keep getting more. I've learned a lot this year on its own, so I'm really appreciative of what I've been able to gain from this and doing this on a weekly basis. This is episode 46, so yes, I did miss some weeks. Did run into some bumps along the way, but 46 is still a lot. That's most of the year still. Like, I took a few breaks and things. This was mainly a hobby this whole year, and things, so I was able to learn a whole lot and grow and figure out how to use this a lot better. So thank you all. Peace out. See you guys when I see you. Have a good one.